How let's do this. Welcome to our first Christmas special, kind of end of the year ramblings. Uh, let's see, we'll summarize what's been happening. I see a lot of us made it through this year. So, uh, we'll have another go at it next year anyway. Um, so what do we have in the world today? It's quite a unstable situation, it seems, we find ourselves in, economically, politically, spiritually. Well, there's a lot of moving pieces, so I have to put it all together to see the big picture. All right, so as far as geopolitics, well, it seems to going in a direction of escalation in the next year. 2026 should be a year of the fire horse in Chinese zodiac. Yeah? So it would probably start escalating into global conflict led by Europe, which is now invested in promoting this war in Ukraine further because they issued this loan of like $90 billion, which is backed by the supposed reparation payments. It's the kind of wishful thinking in that regard, because there's no reparations are paid by a losing party and Russia is winning, and there's this reparation agreements come as a result of some peace agreement or a kind of end of the conflict procedures, which is not the case at this moment. So that means that European taxpayers are all on the hook for this money once the military station is decisive in Russian favor. And at which point they'll have to, cough up the cash to their creditors. And it's, from my understanding, it's floating in the bond markets and whatever, so it's gonna fuck up their overall economic situation. And at the same time, there's a lawfare happening where Russia is now finally, after 4 years or so, launched this. I guess they were waiting for the appropriate moment, so they launched this lawsuits, a whole bunch of 16 lawsuits or so, around the world at all the different jurisdictions and courts, which is an interesting move, and I expected, of course, that now that cash is frozen not only by Europeans but also by Russians, preventing Europeans using it because it's now in a legal limbo, so to speak. And also the burden of proof now is with Europe, where they have to win every case in every jurisdiction challenged by Russia, whereas Russia has to win only one case to prove the illegality of EU actions, and, like seizing Russian sovereign assets. So so that's going on, and of course, the taking over Odessa and separating Ukraine from the Black Sea would definitely has begun the operation, and that would again, it's expected. Of course, Odessa is founded by Catherine the Great, and what is it, 1786? I don't remember, but a long time ago, yeah. And so it's traditional Russian territory that's been fought over with Ottoman Empire, and where it hosts the Russian population in there, and so it is important trading hub. It's going, all the way from the Dnieper, and go like the Valdai Hills. Yeah, starts from Valdai Hills, and then Dnieper goes down to the Black Sea. Yeah, to the or Odessa is the main port there, which enables then open into Mediterranean and out into the Atlantic, and what you have like the circle of ancient trade routes. Yeah, because you go down the river, go into the sea, then into the Mediterranean, and up to the Gulf Stream. You go up around the Iberian Peninsula and go up into the then Baltic, and then down again. You have like 3 entrances into the river system from the north. Hence, you have that Slavic population that use from they called it from the is Varyak в Греки, from Vikings to Greeks. It was the trading route. Yeah. So from Northern Europe all the way to Mediterranean. Because you follow, the seasonal opening of the ice in the river system, and when then ships start to move, and that's when the main cities were set up along those river systems. So the Volga, it's the higher in geographic correlation, goes through higher plains, Volga, and that's call it Велика Россия. Велика Россия, it's the Grand Russia, which is the Grand Великая means the higher geographically, so it means elevated, versus like Malo Russia, where Ukraine is. That's the means not it's lesser, but it means lower, geographically speaking. So higher region and lower region. So Volga goes there from Велика Россия, like the higher Russia, and then lower Russia, Malo Russia. That goes through Dnieper area into the Black Sea, and Volga goes in the Caspian. So the and then also from Valdai Hills there's another third river going up north. That's the White River, yeah. And that's where the Belorussia is. Like there's the White Russia. So white meaning north. Yeah, the Black Sea, that's south. Belorussia, that's around the White River going into the Baltic. That's the northern part, or northern connection to that river system. And that's, so you have those three Russians here, like the White Russia, the Belorussia, you have Malorossiya, like Lesser Russia, or the Lower Russia, where Ukraine is. And then you have the Velikoressia, or the Higher Russia, Grander Russia, where the Volga river system is going into Caspian. So that's your kind of Slavic traditional hub. And different regions, were contesting for power, who sort of dominates this, trade routes and this Slavic lines of city-states and so on, kind of kняжества. So there was the Kievan Rus was one of the important centers, as Novgorod, there was Muscovite region and so on. There's Kazan was another region. So there were very important centers, ancient centers of trade and commerce. And anyway, now we're getting off into the land of history. Then the whole thing of Ruriks, and then supposedly Scandinavian, Viking, all came. It actually was Slavic tribes who were living in the north, and then there was a war started by, I think, Frederick of something that started to started war against the northern Slavic tribes, so they moved down south to where their similar tribes speaking same Slavic language were. So, and then that's how Rurik then married one of the sort of daughters of local noblemen and like chieftain and whatever, and so he proved himself a great warrior. It was like 739, I think. Common Era, yeah, that's when it happened. Even though officially it's attributed later, like 770, but it's actually 739 from my understanding. Anyway, yeah, so Odessa, it's important trade route, so a lot of grain and products going through that area into Africa and all over the world. And so whoever controls this, it's also strategically important, because Russia has to control its territory, because if it doesn't, it would be always harassed by its enemies from the south. So it's important to plug that hole. And I suspect that Russia will continue to go along the coastline to Transnistria, that like Moldovan appendix that Russia may incorporate it into its territory when time comes. But the point is to reduce Kiev to Kievan regime to 1654 borders, because there's like Western Ukraine, which sort of heavily influenced by Austro-Hungarian Empire and sort of Western culture and Catholic Church and all that, and traditional Russian lands of Donbass and Crimea and all that. So that was added to Ukraine only recently. Like the Donbass was added by Lenin after the Bolshevik Revolution, which was funded by the West, by the way, against the Russian, Imperial Russian. So like a Tsarist regime, and the let's see, so Lenin and Bolsheviks, they drew up the first borders of Ukraine as a republic, because before it was just a border region. That's what Ukraine means. The Krai means the edge. So also the like a region, Krai. And it's before Ukraine could have been referred to any border region. So after the Bolsheviks, it became that specific area of the Malorossiya that became known as Ukraine. So and so the idea, I guess, was to, because Soviet Union was set up initially to like collapse at some point. So the idea was that after it collapses, the republics with their borders would be separated. So in 22, they added the Soviet under land, and they added Donbass, fertile lands of Donbass, and then which is, historical Russian territory, and that's why there's all these Russians live there. And then in later, Stalin added a lot of northern, the western parts to Ukraine during his time in power, like in the 30s, yeah. And then that was like formerly what is a Latvian Polish Commonwealth and all that. So like some of that territory, like Lviv and all that, was added to Ukraine. And then Khrushchev in 1954 added Crimea. It was in celebration of 300-year anniversary of Ukraine joining a Russian Empire, which is in 1654. So in 1954, it was like 300th year anniversary celebration. So Khrushchev gave this, ceremonial presentation of Crimea to Ukrainian Republic, which is part of Soviet Union. So nobody cared. It was ceremonial. It was all this under the same sort of communist banner. And at that time, after Stalin, a lot of that sort of Ukrainian faction kind of moved back in. It's called Ukrainian Mogilov. It was like an ancient old Western faction that introduced what do you call it, the Orthodox Christianity into Russian territory, and it was forced Christianization into that sort of Kievan Rus like official sort of form of Orthodox Christianity. It was like mannered after Byzantium, sort of in Constantinople, centered in Constantinople, which was like during medieval times considered to be a religious kind of center and depicted as Jerusalem. So you see a lot of pictures of ancient Jerusalem in medieval times. It was on the sea. You see sea shapes and then there's walls in Jerusalem, the holy city. That's Constantinople, not the one that's currently Jerusalem in West Asia, because at that time, that what we call Jerusalem today was just a small village with some old fortification ruins from way before, and nobody was actually living there that much except for some Bedouins or whatever. Anyway, and then later decision was made to sort of consolidate all the three Abrahamic religions and have like some kind of center where they could have all their holy sites. And Jerusalem was picked. I forgot the name. Before it was called Jerusalem, it was like some Arabic name or some small village. You can find it online, I'm sure. Anyway, so they brought it, so now you have like, the supposed Temple of Solomon, King David, has nothing to do with it. And you have the Mecca, the holy, mosque in on that Temple Mount for the Muslims, where Muhammad ascended to heaven or something like that. I'm not a Muslim, I don't know much about it, but it is one of the important holy sites for the Muslims, supposedly. So, and then you have, of course, Christianity, the Church of Ascension, and all this important sort of Christian places there, Bethlehem and whatnot, which is again a hogwash, of another flavor. So, well, it's Christmas time, so it's kind of appropriate to maybe like focus on that a little bit. So the Bethlehem is that's a house of bread, bad house, lehem, bread. So it's a reference to the Virgo constellation as like sort of heavenly bakery, because it's earth and fire sign. So it's earth sign for the Virgo, and then the fire is part of the golden triad of the zodiac signs of the so-called like the golden age or period, which starts with the Virgo, climaxing in Leo, and then ends with the Cancer. And so all of those three signs, Virgo, Leo, and Cancer, they're like fire signs. But then they also have their own elemental associations. So Virgo being the earth, hence earth fire, making bakery. And then the Leo is double fire. So it's a fire of its own denomination, and it's part of the fire cycle. So it's double, hence height of the golden period, or the like or the summer period, and and then you have the Cancer, which is water and fire. That's why it's the end of the fire age, because water and fire, they extinguish each other. And then it moves into the next cycle of three earth signs. You have the Gemini, the two twins, or like in the garden, they're naked, they're oblivious to what's going on. It's again reference to the Genesis, of the creation of the Adam Kadmon, the original mankind, male and female created in the image of the Creator. And they're in the Garden of Eden, and so that's the Gemini, which is hands in the Melaphasia man, where the zodiac represents different parts of the body. So the Gemini represents the hands. And and that's the Earth air combo, air and Earth, from what I remember. Then it goes Taurus, again land animal, Earth cycle, height of Earth, age of Taurus, the bull. Hence, during that time, all the gods were identified as bull, because that was the time of when the sun was rising against the Taurus constellation. So and that's double Earth, like Leo is double fire, so here we have double Earth. And then and that's Taurus is what in Melaphasia. That's your neck and shoulders, the Atlas. And then it goes into Aries. Taurus being second sign, Aries being the first sign in zodiac, and also the as a first sign it represents head in Melaphasia. So Taurus neck, shoulders, supporting head, Aries. So that's and Aries is the fire earth combo. So it's a fire sign, but it's part of the earth cycle. And going counterclockwise. So like after that, you have the Pisces bordering Aries. Pisces is actually the last sign in the solar zodiac with 12 signs, and then this lunar zodiac with Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, which is the lunar cycle of 13 months, 28 days each. So the and the Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, it represents Kundalini energy of this that's animated within this solar Melaphasia body, where the Aries is the head, and Pisces, two fishes, that's the feet, 2 feet. There are 2 fishes, yin and yang. So anyway, the Pisces is what we have water, double water. So it's start of the Pisces. It's one common era, birth of Christianity, and so it's kind of identified with a lot of sort of ideological awakening and like confronting sort of old belief systems of the prior age. So start more focus on your inner workings, your inner Christ, your consciousness, ascension of your awareness to your higher spiritual unity with the source. So then we're now approaching, depending who you ask, some say, I think we're still in Pisces. It'll be another like maybe 160 years before we enter Age of Aquarius. Who knows? Aquarius, that's the height of the water cycle, because you have like Pisces, fishes, like Aquarius, water bearer, and the Capricorn is half sea creature, half land creature. That's with Aquarius being height of the water cycle, and it's air water combination. So that's why you have a man, because the Virgo is the female and Aquarius is the male. They're the two sort of human figures, well, excluding the Gemini. The rest are the animals, basically. The rest of the zodiac signs. Yeah. So the Aquarius is the water spilling through the air, and that's why you have water-air combination within that sign. And after that, you have, and that's a Copper Age. Yeah, the Earth Age cycle. That's the Iron Age. Like, the Golden Age is obviously gold. Yeah, and after Aquarius, the Copper Age, you have the Silver Age, which is the air cycle, which consists of the Sagittarius, the Scorpio, and Libra. So like Sagittarius, that's the air. Well, the Capricorn, yeah, it's the ending of the water cycle. That would be water earth combo. And then go Sagittarius, which is the Sagittarius is a fire sign, but it's part of the air cycle of the silver age. So that's the fire air combination of arrow flying through the air, and arrow is the fire and flying through the air. And then goes into Scorpio, which is traditionally called eagle constellation, and that's double air. And then you have Libra, which is scales, which again they're balancing in the air, and it's the what is it? I think it's the water air combination. I'm like I gotta check to make sure. Let's see, which one is it? Libra. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So it's the Scorpio that is the Earth and water. Huh? No, air and water. Yeah, air and water. So air and water is Scorpio, and then double air is Libra. Yeah. So Scorpio, height of the air age. That's the silver age. That's the air and water. And then Libra balancing on two air signs. So that makes sense. That's my calendar. It's still a work in progress. I have a few calendars. There's another one here. Okay. There's another one I'm working on. That goes like day to day. So according to my calendar, we're gonna have basically New Year tomorrow, 24th of December. So